And when I say save, I have to say this for myself because I was raised in this transactional perspective of who God is. When I say saved, I don't mean you're going to heaven when you die. I'm talking about like in the pain of the struggle of life, when you embrace who Jesus is and what he's done to you, you're saved, right? Because you found freedom and hope and in whatever it is. And let's just look at forgiveness. You know, you may have a hard heart because you just can't see. Your heart is so hard, your heart is so hard because someone has hurt you and you can't see forgiveness. You even question whether it's a good idea, right? And when you read the passages as Jesus has forgiven, so therefore forgive, you go, yeah, but he's not talking about me. He can't be talking about criminals. He can't be talking about, people who do horrible things. He can't be talking about Hitler. He can't be talking about, right? And we just refuse that with forgiveness, we just don't let it take root. We never feel the joy of freedom of forgiving somebody. We're always held back by that. Now, that doesn't mean you've lost your salvation. That means that you're missing out on the kingdom of heaven and living in the freedom because of the hard work of cultivating your heart to receive that teaching of freedom, of forgiveness. And that's just one aspect. Think of all the ways we struggle in life, trusting in God for our provision. When I was in cybersecurity, I like to say that I was so poor, all I had was money. And as I've come out of this and looking back, I go, boy, God's been cultivating my heart. I've been cultivating my heart, and my whole perspective on myself, my God, my family, my world, my purpose has transformed over 15 years, and I hope it keeps transforming. And the struggles I had when I had money are the same struggles that I have when I don't have money. So the problem isn't money. It's my heart. I have the same wrestling to do as I did. There's less zeros, but, right? I still have the same cultivation of my heart. And the idea that it doesn't take work, I think, is another myth that we can buy into. How many of you are gardeners? Garden? Are you on board with the organic gardening movement? Right? Organic gardening? Most people think organic gardening is just, you just leave it alone and let nature take its course. It's just organic. What happens if you do that? Right? You don't have a garden. Organic gardening is the most work. And we can look at our lives like that, like us to cultivate a heart where the seeds of Jesus, the teachings of Jesus, the invitations of Jesus, the commands of Jesus, where they land and take root is where we have cultivated our heart. And I came up with just 3 simple things as to how we can cultivate our heart. And these are the 3 things that are at the core of my calling as a pastor, as a leader. These are the things we prioritize at the church. And here's the things. 1, we as a church want to inspire people to cultivate intimacy with God. I believe this is the first of the 3 main things that we can do to cultivate our heart into good soil. How do you cultivate intimacy with God? How do you cultivate intimacy with anybody? You spend time with them. And you spend time thinking about and enjoying what you love about them. And you start looking around the world and you start intentionally looking at your world around you and going, that's a blessing from God. That's a blessing from God. There's evidence of God in my life here. Here's evidence of God in my life there. And then you start thanking God. And all of a sudden you realize when I'm thanking God, I'm praying, right? And your prayers become more than like, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. That tends to be the depth of our prayers, right? And then add, please, 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 right? And when you start to do that, you start cultivating a relationship with God where you're in conversation with him, and it starts with gratitude, and then it starts with wonder, and then it goes to trust and faith and hope, and then all the teachings, no matter how difficult, start to land and take root, and you start to grow in your faith. The second thing that we want to teach is how to handle the Bible. I think it's intimidating to most people, and we don't know how to handle it. And I think for so long, we've just tolerated this very surface level understanding of a literal English translation of the Bible into my literal life now without any consideration of context or proper study methods or how do we treat historical documents, because the Bible was written from a person to a person in a place for a reason, giving some inspiration and direction or correction, and none of that is 2023, you and me in Adair Village. So we have to approach the Bible with some intelligence, and then it starts to come alive. So one of the things that we've done is we created a video series a couple years ago called Dig Into the Bible. We encourage you to go look at it. Forgive the editing and production stuff, because I did it with free software, and it's okay. But it's not intended to go out to the world. It's like a tool that we use to shepherd our flock here. So Heather and I teach that because this is one of the most important things we feel our calling and our role is to equip you in how to handle the Bible. So inspire you to cultivate intimacy with God, equip you in how to handle the Bible, and then we want to invite people to life-giving community. Those are the three things that you can do to cultivate your heart. You have control over those things. You may not be able to control your heart, but you can control how to cultivate the soil of your heart. And that's get intimate time with God. Practice. We also have a series out there of videos called Spiritual Rhythms. And this is just some very practical, ancient ways that you can cultivate your relationship with God, your intimacy with God. And this is how you get the soil. And then being involved in a church community, and it's got to be more than for an hour on Sunday. You won't see transformation if you're here for an hour on Sunday. You have to have Christian community. People that are going to encourage you, call out the beauty of your gifts. And when we're around each other, we're telling people, you're worth being around. And that's life-changing. You're welcome to be, we like being around you. Like, I love, coming to church on Sunday is my favorite thing. I love being around you. And getting involved in a group and getting involved in people's lives. Like, this is how we're supposed to live Christian community. It's never supposed to be a shallow reading of the rules of Christianity and a mandatory attendance to Bible study and church service. It's engaging in the relational aspects of living life as a believer, because we need each other, right? Because if you read the Bible on your own and you try to live it out, you're going to learn very quickly that the world around you is going a different direction. And I'm going upstream, and I need someone to lock arms with as I'm going upstream. I need someone to remind me that the way the world is pushing me is not the way of the Father. And I need to encourage someone along the way. When I'm strong and they're weak, I can pick them up, and vice versa. And we need each other in that way. These are the critical elements to living out our faith, as being in relationship with each other.